What if Pokemon got more branched evolutions? It's one of the most fun evolution mechanics in the series, and it's always super exciting whenever a Pokemon does gain a branched evolution. So what if more Pokemon had them? That's what we're looking at today with some new Pokemon designs of my very own. So let's check it out. I am really excited to get into these Fakemon, but I'm also excited to tell you guys about the charity drive for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital that my merch store and I are currently running for the holidays. From now through the rest of 2023 on December 31st, 10% of all sales of my new Folkachi plushie will be donated directly to St. Jude as a way to give back this holiday season. This plush is of my brand new mascot from my upcoming monster catching video game that I am developing, Histrobi Chronicles, and every purchase not only immensely supports the development of the game, but also the creation of all the videos on the channel and just helps to keep the channel going in general. It's also immensely soft, squishy, adorable, and really well made. It makes a great gift for you or for a loved one this holiday season, and now every purchase also helps to give a little back this holiday season as well. You can pick up a plush at histrobishop.com, that link will be in the description below, and if you also just want to donate directly to St. Jude, I will leave that link in the description as well. But check out those adorable plushies, pick one up, and get you something nice, while also supporting the channel and a great cause at the same time. And a huge thank you to everyone who's grabbed one so far, and to everyone watching for your amazing support of the channel. So with the release of the Indigo Disc DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, it only felt right to include a Paldea Pokemon here, and the one that easily seemed to be the most intriguing was Charcadet. Yeah, it does already have a branched evolution, evolving into either Armarouge or Ceruledge, but it's been a somewhat popular point of discussion amongst fans as to what it would be like if Charcadet had more evolutions of different types as well. And there's been some cool art put out there already, so I thought I would throw my hat into the ring by creating my own additional branched evolution for this Pokemon. This is Aerocois, a fire fairy-type evolution of Charcadet to stand alongside Armarouge and Ceruledge. So basically, since Armarouge and Ceruledge are essentially like secondary mascots for Scarlet and Violet, since they're each exclusive to one of the two games, and also take on a Scarlet and Violet color scheme as well, I thought it only made sense for a third member of this group to be themed after the DLC, the teal mask and the Indigo Disc. So hopefully they don't actually do this for real in the Indigo Disc and screw up my video, but to me it just feels like a very natural way to go about this, since both DLCs are also named after colors as well, just like the base games. With that said, Aerocois primarily uses teal in its color scheme in order to stand out alongside Armarouge and Ceruledge, and it does this for another key reason which we will get into in a second, but it has to do with Aerocois' weapon of choice. Since these Pokemon are themed around weapons as well, with Armarouge being based around a cannon and Ceruledge being based around swords, Aerocois is based around a bow and arrow. This is also where we wrap back around to that teal coloration, because Aerocois is also loosely based on Robin Hood as well, who is known for being an archer, is often clad in green, which is where that teal coloration comes from, and who is a character of European folklore, with Scarlet and Violet's Paldea region obviously based on Spain and the Iberian Peninsula. According to Bulbapedia, it's also possible that Armarouge and Ceruledge take inspiration from actual historical figures as well, so I felt that the Robin Hood element could fit in well. This is also where the fairy type comes in for Aerocois too, since the tale of Robin Hood is very much like that of a fairy tale, and it would also make for the first fire fairy type ever, which would obviously be really cool. Finally, the name Aerocois follows in the footsteps of its counterparts, deriving from the weapon it uses, which in this case is a bow and arrow, and the color it is themed around. Armarouge and Ceruledge, while being Scarlet and Violet themed obviously, don't literally use that in their names either, and instead use the names of similar colors, like Cerulean for Ceruledge. So I opted to do the same for Iroquois with the color turquoise in its name. Overall, I would say that this could be a pretty cool option for Charcadet to evolve into if it was real, and I would love it if Charcadet ever actually did get more evolutions in the future. Next up is a Pokemon who doesn't already have a branched evolution, but fans have long wanted to see it get one, and that would be Combee. People have pretty much always wanted to see, or at least have brought up the idea, of Combee getting a male evolution to go along with its female-only evolution of Vespiquen. It might not ever happen for real, but it's obviously a pretty cool and popular idea, so I've gone ahead and made a male Combee evolution of my very own. This is Squadrone, and if I must say, this guy turned out pretty fantastically. Naturally, as a male evolution, it has to be based on male honeybees, which are known as drones. The term drone gives us a lot to work with since that's such a cool word, and personally, it evokes ideas of fighter jets or actual drones that are flown around in the sky, often for aviation and or military purposes. So I decided to take that term and put a literal spin on it with this evolution, and give Squadrone a fighter jet aviation type of theme. This is where the amazing sunglasses-like pattern comes from on the center face of this Pokemon, which actually resembles the helmet of a fighter jet pilot, which I think is amazing and does a perfect job of giving it that Pokemon charm. I can totally see this being revealed for a new game, and people going crazy over it, or it being in the anime, or something like that. It just feels like it fits the Pokemon vibe really well in my opinion, which I'm really happy about. It is still a bug flying type, and while I initially wanted to make it a bug fighting type to add some pizzazz to it, that doesn't really work well with the drone bee inspiration, since drones apparently have no stinger. That's okay though, because the flying type also works just as well, and finally, for the name, I felt like Squadrone was just the perfect name for this Pokemon. It comes from squad, since this Pokemon consists of a bunch of bros just hanging out, the longer squadron, which evokes that aviation theme, and drone, coming from the name of the male honey bee. I think Squadrone would be an amazing male evolution for Combee if that did ever happen someday, and in my opinion, it's a pretty awesome example of why it definitely should. Okay, so before we get into this next one, I have got to give a big shout out to my main man, Oscar Belmonte, who drew the artwork of the designs that you're seeing in this video. Be sure to check him out with the links in the description below if you haven't yet, because he is amazing and he does great work. With that said, the next Pokemon we're looking at is somewhat similar to the Combee situation, and that is Horsea. Horsea obviously evolves into Kingdra as its final stage, and while Kingdra is not a gendered evolution like Vespiquen, the name Kingdra obviously evokes the possibility of a Queendra also potentially existing, and so Queendra is what I have decided to create. Now, like I said, this one is cool, at least in my opinion, because the opportunity was there with the name to create it. But since Kingdra isn't a gendered evolution or anything like that, we will have to distinguish these two branched evolutions in different ways. It'll still be a water dragon type just like Kingdra, but I imagine that the biggest difference will have to be in their stat distributions. Kingdra has a base stat total of 540, and its stats are really balanced across the board. So I thought that the most natural course of action would be to make Queendra's stats imbalanced and trade that well-roundedness for some more firepower in specific areas. I have kept it at the same total of 540, but made its HP, special attack, and special defense its specialty by giving it 100 base HP and a whopping 140 in special attack and special defense. I also picked these because it would likely be dealing in and taking more special hits than physical ones, so it's also going to be beneficial to what this Pokemon does. However, that does mean that it's going to suffer in other areas, with it having just 50 base attack and defense and only 60 in speed. This way, when you go to evolve your Seadra, you'll have a choice between the balanced and well-rounded Kingdra or the strong but ultimately imbalanced Queendra, and I think that would make for a nice dynamic. Design-wise, you obviously know where the name comes from at this point, and while it wasn't made to look too feminine or anything like that, since it's not a gendered evolution as previously mentioned, and on top of that, it's not like Kingdra looks overtly masculine on the flip side of things, it does still take on a lighter blue and a soft pink coloration to help evoke just a little bit of that feminine origin. What do you guys think about these evolutions, though? How do you think they should evolve from their previous forms? Be sure to let me know about this in the comments below because I would really love to hear it, and leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed and you haven't yet because it really helps out. With that said, I'll be back very soon with another new video, and until then, as always, thanks so much for watching this one, I really appreciate it, and I will smell you guys later.